The alarm tore through the station before I had even opened my eyes. Red light spilled across the ceiling of my quarters, pulsing in short, angry bursts, and the floor shook once, hard enough to knock a cup off my shelf. I was on my feet before I understood why. Something had hit us. Something big. I grabbed my jacket and ran into the corridor, where crew members were already sprinting in both directions, shouting numbers and orders that blurred together into noise. A voice came over the speakers, flat and mechanical, repeating the same warning again and again. Hull breach on Deck 3. All personnel report to emergency stations. My mind went straight to her. Vex. 2 days ago I had given her a nickname, a small, careless thing that meant nothing to me, and apparently meant everything to her people. She had claimed my desk the very next morning, calmly informing me that I now belonged to her in some old, complicated way that her species took seriously. I had laughed about it at the time. I was not laughing now. I turned down the corridor toward the research wing, pushing past 2 officers hauling a supply crate, and reached the door of my department, just as another impact rattled the walls. The lights flickered, died, then came back weaker, tinted orange instead of white. Vex was already standing, her silver eyes fixed on the window, watching 3 unfamiliar ships drift into view against the black. They were sleek, dark, built for speed rather than comfort, and they were closing in fast. "They are not ours," she said, before I could even ask. "And they are not here for the station." "Then what are they here for?" She turned to look at me, and for the first time since I had met her, I saw something close to fear behind the calm. "They are here for me." I did not have time to process that sentence before the intercom crackled again. Commander Grace Whitfield's voice cut through the noise, steady despite the chaos underneath it. "All senior staff to the bridge immediately. Repeat, all senior staff to the bridge." I grabbed Vex by the arm, an act that would have seemed unthinkable 2 days earlier, and pulled her toward the door. She did not resist. If anything, she moved faster than I did, her long strides eating up the corridor, while emergency crews rushed past us in the opposite direction, chasing sparks and smoke pouring from a ruptured panel. We reached the bridge to find it half lit, screens flashing warnings, officers shouting status updates over each other. Commander Whitfield stood at the center of it all, arms folded, jaw tight, watching the same 3 ships on the main display that Vex had been watching from our window. "Report," she said, the moment she saw us. "They are Threll Enforcers," Vex said. "A faction from my homeworld that does not believe attachés should serve in foreign postings. They believe such postings betray old loyalties. I did not think they would follow me this far." "Well, they did," Whitfield said. "And they just took out our long-range communication array with their opening shot. We can't call for backup. We can't warn anyone. We are on our own." A young officer named Daniel Brooks looked up from his console, his face pale under the flickering lights. "Commander, they're requesting to dock. They say if we hand over the attaché, they'll leave without further damage to the station." Every head on the bridge turned toward Vex. She did not flinch. She stood straighter instead, chin lifted, the same posture she had used the day she claimed my desk like it was the most natural thing in the world. "If you hand me over, they will still destroy this station," she said quietly. "Threll Enforcers do not leave witnesses. It is not in their doctrine." "That's reassuring," Whitfield muttered. She turned to her tactical officer, a sharp-eyed woman named Laura Bennett, who had been quietly working through calculations on her own screen since the moment we walked in. "Options. Our shields are already down to 40% from that first hit," Laura said. "If they fire again with the same weapon, we lose life support in half the station within minutes. Our best chance is to disable their lead ship before it lines up another shot. But our weapons systems need at least 3 minutes to charge after that last power surge fried half our grid." "Then we buy 3 minutes," Whitfield said. I felt Vex go very still beside me. When I looked at her, she was staring at the display, at the 3 ships slowly repositioning for another strike. "There is another way," she said. "I can speak to them." "They just tried to blow a hole through our hull," I said. "I don't think they're in a listening mood." "They will listen to me," she said, "because of what you did 2 days ago." I did not understand at first. Then it hit me, the same way the second impact hit the station, sudden and undeniable. The nickname, the claim, the bond she said I had accidentally created. You mean the kinship thing, I said. Yes, she said. Under our oldest laws, a bonded kin cannot be handed over without the consent of the one who claimed them. If I tell them you claimed me, and that you refuse to release that claim, they must either challenge you directly or withdraw. It is law older than the faction itself. Even enforcers will not break it openly, not with witnesses watching through open channels. And if they challenge me... Her silence lasted a beat too long. Vex, I said. Then you would need to survive a trial of will aboard their ship, she said. It is not combat in the way you fear, but it is not safe either. Whitfield was watching us now, arms still folded, but her eyes sharp with sudden interest. If this buys us time to charge weapons and reroute power to the shields, I don't care how strange it sounds. Do it. I looked at Vex. 2 days ago, she had been an inconvenience assigned to my department, someone I barely understood, whose culture I had accidentally stumbled into without meaning to. Now, the fate of the entire station rested on whether I was willing to stand behind a joke that had become real. Open the channel, I said. Laura's fingers moved fast across her console. A moment later, the enforcer ship's reply crackled through the bridge speakers, low and distorted, layered with a second voice translating in real time. We do not negotiate with human vessels. Surrender the attaché or be destroyed. Vex stepped forward, closer to the console, her voice steady and clear. She spoke first in her own language, sharp and formal, then repeated it in ours for our benefit. I am claimed kin under the old law. The one who claimed me stands present and refuses release. Challenge him openly, or withdraw your ships. There was a long pause, long enough that I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears, long enough to watch Laura's countdown timer tick past 2 minutes remaining on the weapons charge. Then the voice returned, colder now, almost amused. Human claims mean nothing under our law. We do not recognize it. You do not need to recognize it, Vex said. You only need to fear breaking it. Every enforcer who has broken kinship law in the last 3 centuries has lost their seat, their rank, and their name. Explain to your command why you destroyed a station over a claim you refused to test. Another pause, shorter this time. 1 minute 40, Laura whispered, eyes on her screen. The reply came sharp and fast. Send the human, he will face the trial. If he fails, the attaché returns with us, and this station burns regardless. Whitfield's jaw tightened. That is not a real choice. It is the only one they will accept, Vex said. Then she turned to me, and for the first time since I had met her, her voice dropped low enough that only I could hear it. You do not have to do this. I release you from any expectation. This is not what you agreed to when you gave me that name. I thought about the desk, the coffee rings, the ridiculous small moment that had somehow tangled our lives together in a way neither of us planned. I thought about Daniel and Laura and Whitfield and everyone else on this station who had nothing to do with any of it, who would still lose everything if those ships fired again. 1 minute 10, Laura said. I'm going, I said. Vex did not argue. She simply nodded once, sharp and final, the same way she had accepted her nickname 2 days earlier, like she was filing away a fact she intended to hold on to. They sent a small transport pod to collect me, guided in by the enforcer ship with cold, mechanical precision. The pod ride across open space took less than 2 minutes, but it felt endless, the black outside the tiny window broken only by the looming shape of the ship ahead, sharp-edged and unlit except for narrow strips of red along its hull. Inside, the air was thinner than I expected, carrying a faint metallic taste. 2 enforcers waited for me, tall and armored, their faces hidden behind smooth, dark visors. Neither spoke. One gestured for me to follow, and I did, because there was nothing else to do. They led me into a wide chamber, lit by a single pale light source overhead. In the center stood a raised platform, and standing on it was a third figure, unarmored, arms crossed, watching me the way a predator watches something it has not yet decided is worth the effort of chasing. You are the one who claimed her, the figure said, voice flat, translated a half-second behind the original words. I am, I said, keeping my voice steady even though my hands were not. Then you will answer 3 questions honestly. Fail to answer, or answer falsely, and the claim is void. Answer all three, and it holds, whatever the cost to us. I nodded, unsure what else to do. Why did you claim her? I didn't mean to, I said. I gave her a nickname because her real name was hard for me to say quickly. I didn't know it meant anything more than that. The enforcer's eyes narrowed slightly. And now that you know? Now I know it matters. To her. And that's enough reason to stand here. A long pause. Second question. If releasing her saved this station and every life aboard it, would you release her? My stomach dropped. I had not expected this. I thought of Whitfield, of Daniel and Laura, of the countdown ticking away somewhere far behind me, on a bridge I could not see anymore. I don't believe releasing her saves the station, I said carefully. I believe you'll destroy it either way, because that's what enforcers do when they don't get what they came for. So no, I won't release her, because I don't think it changes anything, except giving you what you want without a fight. Something shifted in the enforcer's posture, something I could not quite read. Final question, the figure said, voice quieter now. What do you gain from any of this? You are not one of us. You owe her nothing beyond a word spoken in passing. What is a human willing to risk his life for a stranger's claim? I thought about it for a long moment, longer than I probably should have, given the ticking clock somewhere behind my ribs. Because a word still means something, I said. Where I come from, if you give your word, you keep it, even when it turns out to cost more than you expected. I didn't understand what I was doing when I named her, but I understand now, and backing out because it got dangerous would make the word worthless. I'd rather stand here and lose than go home and live, knowing I broke it the second it mattered. Silence stretched through the chamber, heavy and complete. Then the enforcer stepped down from the platform, close enough now that I could see faint scars along the edge of his jaw, old wounds from battles I would never know the story of. The claim holds, he said. Under old law, we withdraw. Relief hit me so hard my knees nearly buckled, but I forced myself to stay upright, unwilling to show weakness in front of him even now. Return him to his station, the enforcer said to the two armored figures behind me. Then, just before I turned to leave, he added one last thing, quiet enough that the translator nearly missed it. Guard that word carefully, human. Words like that are rare, even among my own kind. The pod ride back felt shorter than the ride out, though I knew that could not be true. When the doors finally opened onto the station's docking bay, Vex was already there, standing perfectly still, hands clasped in front of her, in a posture that might have looked calm to anyone who did not know her. But I had learned enough in 2 days to see the tension underneath it. You are unharmed, she said, not quite a question. I am, I said. They withdrew. Something in her shoulders finally loosened, just slightly, just enough for me to notice. Behind us, the enforcer ships were already pulling away, shrinking into the dark until they vanished entirely, and the station's emergency lights began shifting back from red to a calmer amber, then finally to white. Whitfield's voice came over the speakers a moment later, tired but relieved, announcing that the threat had passed, and repair crews should begin assessing damage across every deck. Vex looked at me for a long moment, silver eyes steady in a way that felt different than before, less like judgment, and more like something closer to gratitude, though I doubted she would ever use that word out loud. You kept your claim, she said finally. I told you I would, I said. Words matter, even the accidental ones. The ghost of a smile crossed her face again, the same one I had seen the morning she took my desk, except this time, it stayed a little longer before it faded. Then I suppose, she said, you are stuck with me. I found, somewhat to my own surprise, that I did not mind that at all.